Hello, welcome to Biology, the scientific study of life, gamete production and delivery. To produce sexually, animals must have systems that produce gametes and make them available to the gametes of the opposite sex. These reproductive systems are varied. The least complex systems do not even contain distinct gonads. The organs that produce gametes in most animals, among the simplest systems, are those of polychaetes, worms, phylum Annelids. Most polychaetes have separate sexes but do not have distinct gonads. Rather, the eggs and sperm develop from undifferentiated cells lining the xylem. As the gametes mature, they are released from the body wall and fill the xylem. Depending on the species mature, gametes may be shed through the excretory openings, or the slowing mass of eggs may split the body open, killing the parent and spilling the eggs into the environment. The most complex reproductive systems contain many sets of accessory tubes and glands that carry, nourish, and protect the gametes and the developing embryos. Many animals whose body plans are otherwise relatively simple possess highly complex reproductive systems. The reproductive systems of parasitic flatworms, for example, are among the most complex in the animal kingdom. These worms are hermaphrodites. Most insects have separate sexes with complex reproductive systems. In the male, sperm develop in a pair of discs and or conveyed along a coiled duct to two seminal vesicles, where they are stored. During mating, sperm are ejaculated into the female reproductive system. In the female, eggs develop in a pair of ovaries and are conveyed through ducts to the vagina, where fertilization occurs. In many species of the female reproductive systems includes a sperm ethica, a sac in which sperm may be stored for a year or more. The basic plans of all vertebrate reproductive systems are quite similar, but there are some important variations. In many non-mammalian vertebrates, the digestive, excretory, and reproductive systems have a common opening to the outside, the cloaca, which was probably present in the ancestors of all vertebrates. By contrast, most mammals lack a cloaca and have separate opening for the digestive tract, and most female mammals have separate opening for the excretory and reproductive systems as well. The uterus of most vertebrates is partly or completely divided into two chambers. However, in humans and other mammals that produce only a few young at a time, as well as in birds and many snakes, the uterus is a single structure. Male reproductive systems differ mainly in the copulatory organs. Many non-mammalian vertebrates do not have a well-developed penis and simply turn the cloaca inside out to ejaculate. Reproductive organs produce and transport gametes. Focus on humans. Female reproductive anatomy. The female's external reproductive structure are the clitoris and two sets of labia which surround the clitoris and vaginal opening. The internal organs are a pair of gonads and a system of ducts and chambers that carry gametes and house the embryo and fetus. Ovaries. The female gonads and ovaries lie in the abdominal cavity flanking the uterus and attached to it by a mesentery. Each ovary is enclosed in a tough protective capsule and contains many follicles. A follicle consists of one egg cell surrounded by one or more layers of follicle cells which nourish and protect the developing egg cell. Most or all of the 400,000 follicles a woman will ever have are thought to be formed before her birth. Only several hundred follicles will release egg cells during a woman's reproductive years, starting at puberty and continuing until menopause. Usually, one follicle matures and releases its egg cell during each menstrual cycle. The cells of follicle also produce estrogens, the primary female sex hormones. The egg cell is expelled from the follicle in the process of ovulation. The remaining follicular tissue then grows within the ovary and forms a solid mass called the corpus luteum. A yellow body, the corpus luteum secretes additional estrogens and progesterone, a hormone that helps maintain the uterine lining during pregnancy. If the egg cell is not fertilized, the corpus luteum disintegrates and a new follicle matures during the next cycle. Oviduct and uterus. The female reproductive system is not completely closed, and the egg cell is released into the abdominal cavity near the opening of the oviduct or fallopian tube. The oviduct has a funnel-like opening and cilia on the epithelium lining. The duct help collect the egg cell by drawing fluid from the body cavity into the duct. The cilia also convey the egg cell down the duct to the uterus, also known as the womb. The uterus is a thick muscular organ that can expand during pregnancy to accommodate 4-kilogram fetus. The inner lining of the uterus, the endometrium, is richly supplied with blood vessels. The neck of the uterus is the cervix, which opens into the vagina. Vagina and vulva. The vagina is a thin walled chamber that is the repository for sperm during copulation, and that serves as the birth canal through which a baby is born. It opens to the outside, and the vulva, the collective term for the external female genitalia. At birth, and usually until sexual intercourse or vigorous physical activity ruptures it, a thin piece of tissue called the hymen partly covers the vaginal opening. In humans, the vaginal opening and the separate urethral opening are located within a recess called a vestibule, bordered by a pair of slender skin folds, the labia minora, a pair of thick fatty ridges. The labia majora encloses and protects the labia minora and vestibule. Located at the front edge of the vestibule, the clitoris consists of a short shaft supporting rounded a glans or head covered by a small hood of skin. The perbios. During sexual arousal, the clitoris, vagina, and labia minora all engorge with blood and enlarge. The clitoris consists largely of erectile tissue, richly supplied with nerve endings. It is one of the most sensitive points of sexual stimulation. During sexual arousal, Bartholin's glands located near the vaginal opening secrete mucus into the vestibule, keeping it lubricated and facilitating intercourse. Mammary glands are present in both sex but normally function only in women. They are not part of the reproductive system but are important to mammalian reproduction. Within the glands, small sacs of epithelial tissue secrete milk, which drains into a series of ducts opening at the nipple fatty adipose tissue forms the main mass of the mammary gland of a non-lactating mammal. The low level of estrogen in males prevents the development of both the secretory apparatus and fat deposits, so male breasts remain small and the nipples are not connected to the ducts. Male reproductive anatomy. In most mammalian species, including humans, the male's external reproductive organs are the scrotum and penis. The internal reproductive organs consist of gonads that produce gamete sperm cells and hormones as accessory glands that secrete products essential to sperm movement, and ducts that carry the sperm and glandular secretion. Testes. The male gonads or testes consist of many highly coiled tubes surrounded by several layers of connective tissue. These tubes are seminiferous tubules, where sperm form the Leydig cells that are scattered between the seminiferous tubules produce testosterone and other androgens. Production of normal sperm cannot occur at the body temperatures of most mammals, and the testes of humans and many other mammals are held outside the abdominal cavity in the scrotum, which is a fold of the body wall. The temperature in a scrotum is about 2 Celsius degrees below that in the abdominal descent into the scrotum just before birth. In many rodents, the testes are drawn back into the abdominal cavity between breeding seasons, interrupting sperm maturation. Some mammals whose body temperature is low enough to allow sperm maturation, such as minotaurs, whales, and elephants, retain the testes within the abdominal cavity permanently. Ducts. From the seminiferous tubules of testes, the sperm pass into the coiled tubules of the epididymis. It takes about 20 days for sperm to pass through the 6 mm long tubules of each epididymis of a human male. During this passage, the sperm become motile and gain the ability to fertilize an egg. During ejaculation, the sperm are propelled from the epididymis through the muscular vas deferens. These two ducts, one from each epididymis, run from the scrotum around and behind a urinary bladder, where each joins a duct from the seminal vesicle forming a short ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory ducts open into the urethra, the tube that drains both the excretory system and the reproductive system. The urethra runs through the penis and opens to the outside at the tip of the penis. Glands. 3 sets of accessory glands: the seminal vesicle, prostatic gland, and bulbourethral glands, added secretions to the semen. The fluid that is ejaculated, a pair of seminal vesicles, contributes about 60% of the total volume of semen. The fluid from the seminal vesicles is thick, yellowish, and alkaline. It contains mucus, the sugar fructose, which provides most of the